The Todd Shapiro Show.
Time to hit the button!
On Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Live from Spain, we have the one and only. I'm really excited for this chat. I'm really glad that we made it happen today. Lambert from BovedaInc.com. Hi, Lance.
Hey, what is happening, Todd? Yes, talking to you live from Barcelona. It's 11 o'clock at night here. A beautiful evening. And getting ready for a big week.
Oh, man, that's so cool. So you're there because they have an event in town called Spannabis. And how long has Spannabis been going on for, Lance?
Several years. I believe this is actually their seventh year. It's kind of interesting because they were recently acquired by the High Times Group. Although this is the last year that the existing team is going to be at the helm as far as organization. Next year will be the first year. It's kind of led by High Times. So, yeah, it's actually one of the biggest and most successful industry events here in Europe. They have anywhere from 30 to 50,000 people that come out for this, and not just from Europe itself. We actually have people in our industry, our network, that are here from Australia, from South America, Africa, Ireland, you name it, from all over the country, including Canada and the U.S. So definitely a good time.
And how have you personally seen Spannabis grow, in terms of not just sheer size, but, in terms of what you're going to see when you're down there?
Yeah, so it really, the top talent comes here. And so everything's relevant here. It's not so much just a flower, just a concentrate, but you have people that definitely are masters of their craft, the folks like Frenchy Cannoli and such that bring, bubble hash or ice hash. You're starting to see more of concentrates that are more common in the States, so things like wax, shatter, butter, crumble, all these different iterations of concentrates above and beyond just, say like oil for vape pens and such.
And in terms of like the hype around cannabis around the world, is Canada still really revered for what they've done this year?
Yeah, I think it still is. Canada is definitely a focal point just based on the fact that, being a G7 country, being the first that jumped on with the adult use. Again, nothing against Uruguay down in South America, but obviously substantially different from a political and size standpoint. So Canada does have a lot of attention, and, they have feet on the ground out here. There's operations existing from some of the top LPs in Portugal, in Spain, up in England, even now in Switzerland and Germany as well.
And are publicly traded companies talked about a lot down there, the stock side of cannabis?
They really aren't. This is one thing that is a little unique with Spain specifically as it pertains to Europe is they're very much focused on the craft and the culture here. So more of the conversations are around just the different types of terpenes and looking at more than just THC and CBD. There's conversations around THCV, CBDA, other components and cannabinoids that diversify the actual experience of the flower. So I'd say that's more of where the topic is here than the politics and the investment side. Lance
Lambert's hanging out with us. You mean there's more to the flower than just THC and CBD? What's CBDA? I'm so confused.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So just you have hundreds of different cannabinoids. It depends which scientists and doctors you speak to. They're up to nearly 900 cannabinoids discovered in Israel. But yeah, you can look at, there's some phenomenal cannabinoids like cannabinol, which is CBN. Essentially, it's an oxidized iteration of THC. So even when THC gets old and dried out, this plant still has medical attributions. And with CBN, it's really a natural sleep aid. So think of it as almost like a natural, like an Ambien or something like that, that you can take without any of the side effects or being in that zombie or comatose mode. It literally just helps you fall asleep, stay asleep as long as you need to, wake up, refreshed, and ready to go. So those are, that's just one aspect of many different cannabinoids that are out there. But those are the conversations that people are having here. And that as well as, different types of terpenes, which are really what bring the flavor and a bit of the therapeutic and more of the entourage effect to cannabis. That's another topic as well.
Where are we at, Lance, right now? And when I mean we, maybe more specifically Canada, but in terms of being able to sell cannabis, and let's even deal with the medical side beyond the rec, and then allowing to these different licensed producers to make medical claims about what that can or can't do for you. Are we at a stage where we can do that now?
Not quite. It's interesting. There's this huge move, more so in North America, but it is globally around CBD, cannabidiol, right? So that's kind of the therapeutic, the natural, non-psychoactive cannabinoid. It's really the hero cannabinoid right now. But even though there's been several studies, both in North America and abroad, around the effects of CBD, it is still one of those things that's being classified as a holistic or Eastern medicine. So you can't make any specific claims. You can say, it helps with relaxing, or it helps, just kind of vague iterations of what it helps with, but you can't give specifics. But we're hoping to get there. I mean, that's really, we go back to the studies that are going on in Jerusalem, specifically in Tel Aviv as well, where they're just studying every aspect of this plant and finding components that actually help counter things like cancer, PTSD, Alzheimer's. So we're getting there. It's just a matter of, I think, the International Medical Society actually embracing what these people are studying and finding.
And I guess this is stuff that, when you're applying for any type of drug or a drug identification number and you're making any sort of claim, this stuff really does take years and years, sometimes even decades, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it really does. I asked that to a gal who's one of the leading, in as far as this category, leading in studies domestically around cannabis. And I said, how long will it take for this to get into the medical books? I just want to know how long it will take before the doctors are actually, the future doctors, I should say, are actually taught about the endocannabinoid system and the attributes that this plant has to our bodies. And she said it's typically 8 to 10 years. So once the curriculum is actually accepted into practice, it still takes that many years for it to fully be involved into the curriculum for the next generation of the medical industry to actually learn and move forward with. So I talk to people now that are, they're doing their residencies and they're like, yeah, we touched on it for a few pages. I'm like, that should be its own book. Every mammal except for insects has an endocannabinoid system. Why isn't this a bigger focal point? And unfortunately, everyone has their, I guess their conspiracy theories, if you will, but everyone's trying to figure out, why is it? Why is this something that's been hidden for so long? Is it the big pharma? Is it big alcohol? Is it big anything? Is it the government in general? But for some reason, this information has been suppressed for a century.
Yeah, definitely. And the ironic part about all that is that OxyContin and drug maker are mulling over bankruptcy due to all the myriad of lawsuits that have come their way. And, we think about, big pharma, what they've just sort of, or even doctors that have just kind of prescribed this stuff so easily. And here you go. It's going to maybe take still a decade or so to start telling people what medically cannabis can actually do for you. It kind of seems very ironic, doesn't it?
It does, 100%. And you're right. I mean, I was just reading that article about the entity that is behind the creation of OxyContin. And you're right. I mean, this is stuff that could potentially bankrupt companies like Pfizer and or Farina. I mean, it's big information, and society is sick of it. People are being sick of being pushed into a product that not only does it not work, but it could be potentially addictive and or have side effects that far outweigh the cure that it's claiming to provide. So it's an interesting space. But with that, people say, so is pharma the enemy? No, there are pharmaceutical companies that see this, embrace it, want to get on board. And the same could be said with the alcohol industry. You have companies like Lagunitas down in San Diego, and they have a THC beer that's 10 milligrams for a single beer, and they use terpenes from hops to actually give it that beer flavor. We were just talking about that tonight. So it's a beverage that if you want to drink a beer and I want to consume THC, we can both consume those drinks and be on about the same level as far as a buzz goes, but just one, in my professional opinion, is a bit more healthier than the other. So.
Yeah, no, I'm sure less of a hangover the next day. And, you're talking to a guy who wakes up most days with hangovers, Lance. So I know what I'm talking about there. Yeah, the other thing, too, with the OxyContin maker, I think it's called Purdue Pharma. They, when you file for Chapter 11, it protects you. It halts all the lawsuits and allows them to negotiate those legal claims kind of under the supervision of a U.S. bankruptcy judge. So it's kind of like a way to protect themselves. It's really quite gross, actually. And, this is why I think so many people are excited by, we here in Canada obviously know what's going on, and there's a lot of education. We continue to educate. I think, Lance Lambert, you should be consulting with the Canadian government, to be honest. You're probably the brightest guy I know in the space, and I'm, guy or lady. I'm not just saying that. And it's so neat to hear you represent, now the world and stuff. Is there anyone, now that you're in Spannabis in Spain, is there anyone there brighter than you? You're like, yeah, I know this. You don't got to tell me.
There are plenty of people that are absolutely next level, and where they go next level, I'm a little bit more of a one-size-fits-all, right? So try to keep myself in touch with everything in the industry, from genetics all the way through to consumption. What you have here are some experts that are very much focused in microbiology, so they can tell you about the true ins and outs of the plants on a molecular level. Then you have individuals that are masters of grow, or that are masters of processing. So those are the kind of guys that I run into here, and do keep them close, because they're the ones that educate me. I don't have time to learn about every latest microbe that could be attacking or microbial or fungi that could be attacking this plant. But there's an expert here that I'm going to catch up with named Colin that does. Same with growing, where their latest grow techniques. Catching up with someone like Ed Rosenthal, a friend in the industry, is going to be with us this week. He can keep me up on the latest trends in that space. So I know so much, but there's so many other people that know a lot more and are just that much more focused in their respective category.
Now, a few years ago, when all these sort of conventions were taking place, whether it was Spain or in Toronto or in California or in Vegas, wherever it may have been, you often heard how there were kind of button heads a little bit, which with the true pioneers and advocates of marijuana and all its, what they deem its benefits, and then sort of the business side moving in, and especially, the financial side and the suits. Are we all, because from what I see anyway, especially the suit side, I feel like they're lessening their kind of douchebaggery sort of stance, like a typical Wall Street sort of look, and I think the other side, in terms of the advocacy side, and I don't want to use this term lightly, but the hippie-ish type. Let's generalize here. I feel like now we're all blending in together a little bit more. Do you sense that?
Yeah, I really do. And some of the companies out there, the ones you're referencing, are a lot smarter than others, where they are trying to get in where they fit in type of thing. So they bring on someone like me, who's kind of a jack of all trades in respect to education around the industry, and go, okay, Lance, you are, to your point, you're our resident expert. Who should we be working with? Whom should we not be working with? What are the latest genetics? What are the trends? What are people focusing on? What do the millennial and Z generation like to consume versus our generation or the baby boomer generation? So I think a lot of those larger companies, Aurora is a good example. Big fan of theirs. I have been since the start. And I know the people they're working with in the industry, because they're all my friends. And I know they're going to the people that know their stuff and are all, as we say in the industry, they're all good vibes, right? They're all good people. I mean, none of us are doing it pro bono, but the same token, we do it because we have a passion connected to the industry. So when a company like that reaches out to those types of individuals, it definitely gives me a next level of respect for them.
One of the stories I was tracking a little bit was with Governor Andrew Cuomo from New York, and he was sort of saying yesterday that he's no longer confident that an agreement to legalize adult use cannabis in New York will be included in sort of this new state budget due April 1st, which kind of went against what he was sort of saying when he was running. Does that surprise you?
It's politics. Nothing surprises me in that space. But having said that, it's tough. Wherever the politics are heavy in the States, there seems to be more drama around legalization. And I don't mean to pick on it being a West Coast kid, but look at how long it's taken Florida just to move forward with providing flowers since they found out that, or I guess they determined that it isn't legitimate for them to be able to say that it can't be consumed in that fashion. So looking at Florida, looking at New York, even New Jersey, there's a big factor in New Jersey not legalizing because of the governor that was in place there up until recently. Boston's finally coming on board, but it's taken all of them years. And what Colorado was able to come into fruition in a year and a half, Washington a year and a half, Vegas, Nevada as a state they voted, and the governor actually took out a near $1 million loan to expedite getting adult use in place and got it launched by July 1st. So literally we're talking about 7 months after the state voted it in. So it is unfortunate, but it's not surprising. Hopefully the East Coast does continue to work and get out of their own way in order to move it forward to legalization. So people have spoken.
And wait, Lance, sorry to bother you. I know it sounds like you might even be at a party there in Barcelona or something. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. It's 11 o'clock at night there, and I can only imagine how fun it must be. And you're like, I gotta talk to this darn guy Todd still. But Lance Lambert from BovedaInc.com. What was there, the way Florida rolled it out? Was it different than the way Canada rolled it out, which was you could actually edibles and things of that nature were legal medically, but the smoking the flower wasn't, where here it's a little bit reverse? Am I right to assume that?
Yeah, so Florida did vote legalization on medical. It took them as like a third time's a charm kind of scenario just to get that done. So they are a medical state. But yes, exactly to your point, they're what we call a flowerless state. So it's exactly opposite of what Canada saw. So Canada saw the only means of consumption being primarily a flower. Or you could press your own live rosin, right? But concentrates, whether it be topicals or edibles, oils, those are all going to be a second phase. So it was opposite in Florida. That's everything that they offered in Florida. And they said, nope, flower is not allowed. We don't believe in being able to smoke it. And what ended up happening essentially is they deemed it unconstitutional, is the term they used. So now they're saying, okay, we need to get this moving forward. But New York was also a flowerless state, as is Minnesota, where our headquarters is. It's a medical state, but it's flowerless, so you can only purchase concentrates. Kind of an interesting approach.
So I guess, and I ask you this every week, and I'll probably ask you this every week until it happens, as we run towards the next sort of presidential run, and we're going to start seeing the battles come out soon. Will anyone make that their platform, that to legalize federally the flower, the entire thing, like Trudeau did here in Canada? Did we lose Lance? We might have lost Lance. Oh, Lance, you're back now. Sorry, we lost you for a sec.
Okay, yeah. So it's the Democratic Party. So it's the candidates on the Democrat side that are all saying that they're for cannabis. Republicans, again, I've said it's a nonpartisan, but we have a very interesting situation going on with Republicans in the U.S. right now. It's not the same Republicans we remember from the 80s, like Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr. And, so times have changed. So Republicans are a little more reluctant to be on board with that kind of bandwagon. But, yeah, I think we'll definitely see it coming into fruition. We always talk about this. How far out is it? I think now, as crazy as it sounds, I think it could be as little as 2 to 3 years out. I really do. As far as legalization, we're getting behind. Canada's on board. Mexico's on board. There's 28 other countries besides those two alone that have legalized cannabis globally.
And you being in Spain, how's the feeling in Europe for a lot of those nations and countries to start to legalize it as well?
They're still trying to figure it out here, right? So it's kind of a gray area here. It's almost
they're just always behind in Europe. They're always behind, Lance, in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't even have pavement yet. They still got all those beautiful cobblestone streets.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they are. They definitely have a little ways to go, but it has been a surprise. I mean, again, England legalized on November 1st, right after you guys. That really surprised us. We thought the UK would be one of the last. You have Germany, you have Switzerland, you have Portugal. So countries are coming around, but the UN has been dragging their feet on revisiting their ideology towards cannabis. So that's the real challenge. Is they do have these governing parties, or even WHO, who is another group that just finally came out and said that they're pro-cannabis. So things are moving in the right direction, but it almost you can compare 24 countries, I want to say. But you can compare the EU almost to the U.S. in comparison of states versus countries. Who's on board, who's not, or is everyone going to get on the same level at the same time, or what's going on here? So hopefully they'll come around, but it is moving rapidly. Canada has made a huge influence on the conversation and how quickly things are starting to move in Europe. I'll say that.
Really exciting. And I won't take up too much more of your time, Lance. What are you doing right now, by the way? You can tell. Where are you?
I am in the back of a cafe, and they're tidying things up for tomorrow. So actually getting ready to head back to the hotel. This is one of our quiet nights. Like you guessed, it's very similar to MJ Biz, just with a European flair. But things go all day. So we're at the shows and events essentially from 9 o'clock until 9 o'clock at night, and then it's dinner meetings, and then it's meetings at the social clubs or launch parties or networking events. So it makes for long days. So I'm actually, all joking aside, heading home and back to bed in a few minutes here.
Oh, well, that's I won't bother you too much. Just what are you looking for different at this Spannabis? What do you think's one thing that might blow you away that you haven't necessarily seen yet at some of these trade shows?
Well, one thing I'm looking to see out here, I really want to see, because genetics are more popular than ever, and I always talk about the trendy strains out of the triangle. But I'm curious to see if there's any new year strains from Europe, because Spain is kind of that focal point for strains comparably to California and the U.S. So what do they have out here? Because our trends around strains have been cookie strains, cake strains, ice cream strains, a lot of gelatos, Girl Scout cookies, things like that. And so, our latest strain from last year was ice cream cake, which is a gelato and wedding cake combined. Great strain. So what do they have out here? Because traditionally they're known for their super silver haze, their lemon haze, their amnesia, more of a sativa dominant type market because of the altitude and the latitude of Spain. But they're starting to get more creative on custom genetics. So I want to see what's hot, what's not, So that's what I'm looking for this trip.
Oh, man. Well, listen, thank you so much. It's really neat talking to you in Spain, and actually clearer than the last person we talked to who was in Los Angeles. So that's really a nice benefit. The damn hills in Los Angeles. So, that's normally you're around Southern Cal area. So thank you. No, we did have a caller earlier from there. That's normally where you are. And then you'll be in town in 3 weeks?
Yes. I'll be out there for Spannabis. Believe it's the last week of April. So definitely making a plan to come by and see you guys live. I'll have the team up there, and looking forward to it. We love going to Toronto. To me, it's almost like the LA, the Southern California of Canada. So it's fun to come up and see you guys, and very much looking forward to that.
Oh, very cool, dude. And BovedaInc.com, your global leaders in two-way humidity control, which is part of the reason why you're in Spain. And good luck expanding the business as you continue to do so. Not only just in North America, but in that part of the world as well. So nice to you're obviously just a great face to that company, and working very hard at high level management, but also getting out on the road. And really cool that you continue to inspire all of us. Thanks, man.
For sure. Thanks so much, Todd. I appreciate the kind words. And again, look forward to seeing you guys live here very soon.
And before you go, I will call you hopefully tomorrow. I have something personally I need to talk to you about. Okay? Again, good thing. A good opportunity.
Sure.
Okay. Awesome, my man.
Just 3 hours time difference.
Okay, we'll make it work. Thanks. Lance Lambert from BovedaInc.com. We do appreciate all your time. Enjoy Spain.
Thanks again.
Peace, man.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.